Hello my friends, and welcome back to another Brotato Danger 5 random run, where we take a random character, random weapon, and try to beat Danger 5 with it. Hope you're all doing well. Let's see what we've got today. We have the Farmer, which we've done already, and the Generalist. Okay, so for Generalist, we are going to random not one, but two weapons, because, of course, with the Generalist, you need both a melee and a ranged weapon, so we're going to random whichever one we get in the shop here, and then whichever in the other category we see first in our shops. Generalist is a funny character, so we got the submachine gun. Generalist is a funny character because it mostly doesn't have any text. It seems like being able to buy melee and ranged damage interchangeably is going to be an upgrade, but for the most part, all that does is allow you to use the weapon set that you're forced to use, and otherwise the character is just a slightly worse version of a completely vanilla potato, one without any abilities at all. Here we're going to reroll, and we're looking for harvesting, and we found some, great. And it looks like we're using a Sickle as our melee weapon. Sickle is not bad because it's a support weapon. Typically with Generalist, the ranged weapon's going to be doing most of the damage because it's ranged, so having the very efficient submachine gun to kill things, and the Sickle to just give us some extra harvesting, and this way we don't have to worry too much about our melee damage, though of course we build both melee and ranged interchangeably. The Sickle is a totally reasonable find for our melee weapon. One advantage that we do have as the Generalist is we can buy something like the Goat Skull for 1.5 ranged damage, and there are more melee damage upgrades than ranged damage, so for our submachine gun, which just wants flat ranged damage, the ability to buy these more common upgrades is actually really helpful, so that part is pretty good for us. Missed a couple times on finding our weapons here. I would have liked to find another Sickle, of course, so that we could get the support weapon tag going. But that's fine. I did spend a lot of money early on rolling for this harvesting, but since we rolled into a support weapon, it's even more important that we got the harvesting early, because then we can get to the 21 mark, the magical harvesting mark, even that much sooner. Here we're gonna roll for more harvesting again, and roll again. Okay, we got there, and we'll take our submachine gun, and then roll, lock a Sickle and a submachine gun, and while we can't buy either of those, this is a great shop, obviously, giving us a leveled up SMG and another Sickle. Again, would have been nice to find our support weapon early to boost our harvesting, but we'll get there soon. Honestly, just the Sickle is a good find for this character, just because having guaranteed harvesting on the Abyss is so helpful. This map rewards having harvesting for your economy so much, because you just get less money from enemies than the other map. There's fewer enemies and they have more health, so your economy needs to come from other sources more frequently. So having a support weapon, even if we don't find them early as our weapon, and just kind of guaranteeing that we're going to find some harvesting, really makes this run much easier, I think. Going to take 10% attack speed. Attack speed, of course, is less valuable for SMG because it has really, really high attack speed already, so you just want to boost your base damage, but this is a level 2 upgrade. It's good for the Sickles, and it's not bad for SMG either. I think there is a school of thought that you should never buy attack speed with submachine gun. I disagree with that and think that attack speed is still totally fine to buy with submachine gun. You just need to attack a lot because the shots don't do that much damage individually. Definitely buying that because it gives us 5 harvesting, and then I think we just upgrade our weapons here. I'll take the propeller hat as well. Just getting that early luck online is good. It does mean I didn't get to reroll looking for more weapons, which in the Wave 4 shop, you are pretty incentivized to reroll at least once to try to find, in the Wave 3 shop, we are incentivized to try to find weapons because it is one of the shops, the first 5 shops you're guaranteed to see a weapon in. Or rather, in Shop 1 and 2, you will always have 2 weapons in the shop every time you reroll, no more, no less. And in Shops 3, 4, 5, you're always guaranteed to see at least 1 weapon. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll take a Pearl. When we get it early like this, there's also a decent chance that it can create more pearls for us, even though it's only a 3% chance. We are hopefully going to open a lot of boxes for the rest of the run. And then here, let's reroll this. I'm looking for harvesting. I'm looking for ranged or melee damage. Either one works. I'll just take the 2 ranged damage, and that will boost my submachine guns effectively. And then we'll take 8 harvesting. We are going to grab the goat skull as well, and you can see that boosts our ranged damage. I really don't care about our melee damage, because our sickles are just not going to be an important component of our damage output. It's really just going to be 3 submachine gun with the triple SMG life for us. Generally, I would much prefer to buy lifesteal over regeneration for this build. But do I want the baby squid anyways, just because it's so early? I think I do. It's going to be a lot of value. Regen isn't useless, even though, of course, with lifesteal, with submachine gun, you're pretty incentivized to be a lifesteal build. But getting that regeneration early means that we just won't have to worry about any form of healing for a while. And that's probably like 10 regeneration that we're going to get out of the baby squid. I do need to be a little careful. I walked into a few too many attacks. On the Abyss, submachine gun does have the downside that there's these mantis shrimp, which absorb damage. Let's go get that tree kill. And then I'm going to step in so that we can take a swing with our sickle and at least kill a couple things this wave. This was a difficult wave for me, and I misplayed it a little because I walked into a bunch of attacks. And between the mantis shrimp absorbing shots and the floaters producing a lot of things we had to dodge, that made it a little more difficult to navigate that wave. So you can see I didn't make that much money this wave, but hopefully we can make up for that soon. We also haven't found our 3rd sickle yet, which is definitely a problem. Let's pick up the corrupted shard. I've taken 3 armor there because it's a level 3 upgrade, and obviously 3 armor is great. The corrupted shard is excellent to get early. We'll pick up leather vest, alien worm. I do want max HP, but currently we don't have a lot of healing, so losing consumable healing is actually a real downside. So I want to reroll here. I want to look for more SMGs or more sickles. In the last shop, we're guaranteed to see weapons in. Saltwater, I don't think we need. It is 1 ranged damage. I guess it's probably worth it. 80 for a ranged damage to boost our SMGs is probably fine. And then I will lock all of these items, but I am starting to be a little concerned that we haven't found any more weapons, unless I've just rolled past them. Playing with only 5 weapons is certainly doable, but not exactly where you want to be, especially with a support weapon like the sickle. Sickle also scales its own damage, so having more when you have the support weapon tag, because it scales off of harvesting, so having more of them makes each of them do more damage. I thought I could time it so that we killed that pufferfish with the sickle, the first one, not the second one. So I ran up to it in melee and tried to kill it. I'm going to take a bunch of damage here to ensure we get that loot alien kill. To avoid it generating projectiles, and that worked out very well. Defective steroids, again, this melee damage is ranged damage, and we want max HP, so we're very happy to pick that up, and we'll take the helmet as well. Crit chance is less useful for us because we're an SMG build, so we have a lower crit multiplier. We do actually already have 6 dodge, so I could start building dodge on this character, but I think... Or I could just take 2 melee damage or 5 harvesting. You know what, let's actually start building dodge. I'd like to get decent defensive stats with this character because with this eclectic weapon set, we are going to have more trouble clearing the wave than most characters will, so building some defensive stats early can help mitigate that. You know, lock this metal detector. Penguin, although I do have the baby squid, so we're kind of building some regeneration I don't think we care about, and we can't build cute monkey because it cost me ranged damage. Insanity... It does help our sickles, but it's not great for our SMGs. Probably still efficient enough to grab it. And then, currently my max HP is extremely low, so I do want to build the acid here. Playing at 17 HP is just really dangerous. Not sure where our SMGs and sickles are at. I ran into melee that walrus to death. So normally when you are playing the Generalist, you want to think of yourself as a melee build because half your weapons are melee. So you want to play around the range of your melee weapons typically. For this build, it's a little bit different because SMG is such a good weapon. We can clear the wave with only 3 of them without really worrying about our melee attacks. And also because Sickle does not do a lot of damage early. And we've only found 2 of them. So we're a little less incentivized to run into melee than the Generalist normally is. Here, I'm just going to grab the luck, I think. I do want armor, but we have a pearl, so this is worth % damage, and then also helps boost our economy. And then here's an interesting choice. We could take 3 ranged damage, which of course is going to be very solid for us, always. We could take attack speed, which does, again, help both of our weapon sets. So does the ranged damage, but the attack speed is very useful also. Or I could take dodge. I've talked about wanting to build dodge. I think I'm just going to take the damage, though. We really do just want to build more damage, especially because we have Horde waves coming up. We want to make sure our SMGs are clearing those as fast as possible. I'd actually rather have found a lower level Sickle than this, because honestly, our Sickle levels, the weapon attacks from these are not that important. But we at least did find another one, and that gets our support weapon tag to as high as it's going to get. We'll take the metal detector and then do a reroll here. I'll grab a lemonade. This character, going into wave 9, can I get away with celery tea? We don't have a lot of healing currently, which is celery tea sort of guarantees you'll take hits because enemies have a lot of health. But I think we maybe can. Our damage isn't bad at this point. The Sickles swing for a lot and get bonus damage when we get enemies low. And that is a lot of XP gain. I think it's better to skip it, though. Celery tea just takes so long to pay off and costs you so much in the wave that you buy it. I think you should usually just avoid that item. Basically, with celery tea, if you're ever on the fence, you should just not buy it. It's a dangerous item in terms of costing you a lot of money. It will sometimes get you killed, though not usually, but usually it's going to cost you a lot of money on the wave that you buy it, and it takes a very long time to pay off. So unless you're sure that you can clear the next wave very fast, even with doubled enemy health, you should just avoid that item in general. People really like celery tea because it has incremental value over time, and generally we are all biased towards items that give you more value every wave because it feels like you're getting infinite value. But that's an item that just takes a long time to pay off, so you don't typically want to buy it unless you're confident you can get the value out of it right away. Cyclops Worm, this is great. We need % damage, and then we could take more harvesting. I could also just take some more damage. I think I'm going to buy 1 more harvesting upgrade, and then we are in pretty good shape economically. Peacock, on the other hand, this is dangerous, but doesn't cost you money, so we are going to buy the Peacock. Because while this increases enemy damage, as long as we don't walk into enemies, we're fine. I will also lock the Vigilante Ring, so I had a choice between the Peacock and the Vigilante Ring this wave. I'm buying the XP gain earlier. I think that will matter more than 3% extra damage. Then I'm going to take the Acid here. I'll lock Duct Tape as well, and I'll throw in 1 reroll for 9. I'll lock a Bat because we do want to build Lifesteal with our SMGs. So I need to be very careful this wave because we do have the Peacock. For that reason, I'm going to focus on killing those hatchers very quickly so that fewer of the slashers spawn, because that will just mean fewer things that I have to dodge. So we're just going to kill the large hatching aliens as soon as we can. And again, we can use Sickle to help speed up the damage process, especially because we got a level 3 Sickle that does a bunch of bonus damage to low health enemies. I did let 1 egg hatch, which I wanted to avoid, but so far we've played this wave very clean, haven't taken any damage. I say immediately take damage. But as long as we make it out of this wave intact, I'm also incentivized to pick up as many of these materials as I can, because we have the bonus XP gain from Peacock this wave. So because I ran in and grabbed those extra materials rather than leaving them on the ground for next wave, we got more value out of them and got a bunch of levels. Those levels also give us regeneration for our squid. I will take the black belt. Although we have the Peacock XP gain, the Black Belt XP gain is also good, and this gives us melee and ranged damage. And then here, I could start building dodge, I could build more max HP. I'm just gonna actually build a little dodge, and then we'll take the 6 melee damage. Actually, I should buy speed. I have no movement speed, so I should invest in a little bit of movement speed at least. I will want more max HP, but max HP is much less important for this character because we don't have an elite until wave 17. And generally, against Horde waves, you want regeneration, lifesteal, and healing. And against elites, you need enough max HP to survive multiple hits from the elite, just in case. Because their damage instances are much higher individually. So we can wait on buying max HP until later on this build than we would on another character, because we are fighting hordes instead of elites. That's a consideration. Generally, I wouldn't put too much thought into that, but that is a small consideration that you can do when you're playing the game. I'm going to pick up this scar here, even though we already have a bunch of XP gain, so it's a little less valuable. More levels is good, and we have an item that gives us value when we level up. And then I will buy the crown as well, because of course, one cannot be the king of Brotato without a crown, and also, we have a decent amount of harvesting, so it's going to be a lot of value. This wave is a lot easier than last wave, because we don't have the Peacock extra damage. And we should be able to get a bunch of levels because we now have plus 70% XP gain. So we have almost as much because we found that that black belt and the scar. We have almost as much XP gain this wave as we did last wave, even without the plus 100% from the Peacock. Gonna kill that curse alien. We did get a cursed lamp respawning. Kind of dangerous. And I wasn't able to get the second curse alien, so I'm leaving a lot of materials on the ground. That's because of our slow clear speed. I need to find piercing bullets or something, or more attack speed for our sickles before we fight the Horde, which is next wave, so that's something I'm going to focus on right now. We'll take the attack speed for that reason, and then 3 more armor. Because currently we are struggling to clear large groups of enemies, in part because our SMGs have not leveled up at all. We'll take the crown, helmet, and ritual. I won't bother with snail, though. And then we did finally get another leveled SMG, so that's really good for us. Reroll here, we'll lock this one as well. I just needed to complain about it, apparently. And spicy sauce, I do need more max HP, so I will spend 90 on it. This is an expensive and inefficient way to get max HP, but I think we do need to start building some soon. So the attack speed here is just so that our melee weapons can actually help clear the Horde wave and we don't get overwhelmed and take too many hits. And it's useful for our SMGs also. So you can see I am starting to take a few hits here. I'm trying to dip in and clear these big groups of enemies so that we actually make some money. Right now, our healing and our defensive stats are quite good, so I can afford to take a few hits in order to make sure that we're actually clearing these waves. And because we don't have piercing shots or other AoE damage, we are relying on our sickles to help us kill the Horde. I took too many hits there and had to back away, so that was slightly bad play at the end, put myself in a bit of danger, but because I've invested so heavily in armor, we came out the other side just fine, and we have 6% lifesteal as well to heal back up. So that was a case where the fact that I've built my character well meant it overcame some bad play because I've just walked into too many enemy attacks. I'm going to pick up some damage here because I do need more damage. I could just take melee damage here. Let's just do that. I think our damage output's a little low for what I want at this point. So I'm going to keep buying a little bit of base damage if I can. Let's reroll here. We can upgrade our Sickle. We can buy a Tractor. I could speculate on Pumpkin. If we find piercing shots, we'll be very happy that we have the Pumpkin, because we really want Pierce. So I think I will lock this. This character's pretty strong, but one way we could lose is to this Horde wave. So I'm going to try to build around ways to make that not happen. And one way to make that not happen is to find Pierce before then, and buying the Pumpkin means that the Pierce will be more useful going into that Horde wave. Generally, I don't advise buying Pumpkin or items like that don't do anything, unless you get another item, another specific item, before you have that other specific item. I don't think that you should usually speculate on spending 100 materials on 0 value, like we're about to do with Pumpkin. In this case, because it is a way to help solve the only problem that the build currently has, I think it's worth doing. And also because our character is very strong. So right now, I'm only worried about one thing, and that's just getting overwhelmed in the Horde wave. I think that is, unless I really mess up, functionally the only way we lose this run, because otherwise we have managed to hit pretty much every benchmark for a winning run in terms of our damage output, our economy, and so on. Little muscly dude is a big help as well. We need more damage, we need more health. Ricochet, so this is another way to add AoE damage to our character. It doesn't benefit from the Pumpkin, but although it costs me 25% damage, Ricochet is excellent and super fun, so we're going to grab it. We'll take the percent damage to offset that. Here, I could take 3 lifesteal for more healing. I could also just take attack speed. I'm just going to grab some attack speed. Again, the only thing I'm worried about right now is this upcoming Horde wave, so the attack speed can help our Sickles help with that by making them attack more frequently, even if it doesn't do that much for our SMGs. Now that I have the Pumpkin, the Ricochet gives me bounce, and it doesn't benefit from Pumpkin, so I'm not going to buy Pumpkin. Spending 100 materials or 95 materials on something that doesn't help is, in the short term, is something I'm not that excited by anyways, and since we have an alternate way to get that effect, I'm not as concerned about building around potentially finding Pierce. Compass, I don't think we need. Our move speed is fine. We are not taking that many hits, so I can probably just buy the triangle here. I do just need more damage, and finding all of those percent damage upgrades means we just offset the big damage hit that we took by buying Ricochet. Reroll here, and we currently have no crit chance, but Tentacle's a decent way to heal, and we can maybe start building some critical hit, especially if we were to roll into something like a hunting trophy. So I will buy the Tentacle. This is, again, a fairly speculative purchase, but more ways to heal is good, and Tentacle is very useful going into the Horde wave, which, as we talked about, is really the only thing that I'm concerned about. I should say I'm also concerned about the elite and the bosses, because with only 3 SMGs, our single target damage is fine but not amazing. But for now, we just need to pass the benchmark of beating the Horde wave in order to win the run. And with a powerful run like this, one where we got a good weapon and have a character that's pretty easy to win with, we should be focused on stopping the narrow edge cases where we lose. When victory is within your grasp, you should think about, what are the cases where I managed to throw this away? How could I manage to lose this otherwise won run, and play around those? I'm going to take 12% damage here just because it's a higher level upgrade. And nice, we get to upgrade our submachine gun, take the Tentacle and the coffee, and then reroll. I guess I'll upgrade the Sickle. Honestly, going to level 4 doesn't do that much, but this is a random weapons challenge, so it's kind of fun to do that anyways. And it does do a lot of damage per attack, so that can help with the elite fights. Do I want more XP gain? I kind of do, if only because it just gives me a little bit more ranged damage. So by melee and ranged damage with the black belt there. The XP gain itself is not that useful, and of course losing, since we have so much already, and it's relatively late in the run, and of course losing luck is bad, but I just want to build more damage at this point. I love Ricochet. I wish that Bounce was a more common effect, rather than only existing on a level 4 weapon, because it's just so much fun. Or level 4 item. There's a couple weapons that bounce. Grenade launcher has a bounce. Slingshot has bounce, of course, but I feel like getting bounce on other weapons is one of the most fun things that happens in this game, because suddenly it's just chaos across the map, and that's what this game is all about, so I wish it was a little more possible to get it in most runs. Our crown and the amount of harvesting we've gotten has actually been very helpful because we are struggling a little bit to clear the wave. I talked about that would be the case at the beginning of this run. Since we have a sort of weird weapon set, even though we've managed to build a lot of damage, clearing the whole wave is a little difficult, and this is Abyssal Terrors. So waves like 13 through 17, you make very little money from actually killing the enemies. So having all this harvesting has been very helpful to us. I'll take the damage here, because of course I just want more base damage. Buy HP with the acid, but I don't think we actually need more max HP. Let's roll here. Okay, we did find Sharp Bullet, so the pumpkin that I passed would be useful. Now, typically Bounce and Pierce don't work very well together, because Bounce has a 50% damage reduction on each bounce. So when you throw a bouncing shot, it will bounce first, and then the piercing shots will happen after that 50% damage reduction, because bounce happens before pierce and reduces the damage. So pierce and bounce don't work very well together. We will also get lower damage on our piercing shots with the Sharp Bullet, but I think it's still worth it. We're going into a Horde wave. Even very small amounts of damage to the random enemies across the map are going to be very valuable to us. I'm going to take the Goat Skull here and then do a reroll. Unfortunately, can't buy Treasure Map. Peaceful Bee, you cannot ever buy on Generalist, because it effectively costs you 3 damage, being worth, or like 1.5 damage for range damage, or 3 damage for melee damage, being worth negatives in both. I will take the Insanity, though. We do have a Tentacle. So you can see that our piercing shots, when they actually happen, are worth like 4 or 6 damage. That's because the shot bounces, reduces it by 50%, then pierces and reduces it by 70% more. So we are gaining very little damage from those, but we're attacking enough and firing enough shots that those 4 damage instances do just add up. Run through the middle of that group of enemies to get our sickles involved. I do have Triangle of Power, so I want to avoid taking too many hits to avoid the triangles losing us a bunch of damage. But for the most part, the Triangle of Power lets us just clear these enemies in single swings with the sickle. So even if we lose damage at like the very end of the wave, it helps clear the beginning of the wave much, much faster. I'm going to run around and pick up some materials before the wave ends here. Could take 4% lifesteal. That pretty much solves our healing problems if we have that lifesteal. So let's just grab that. And then, do I want to build dodge or do I want luck? I guess I'll take 20 luck. I won't buy the plant because we're basically a submachine gun build, so plant is not going to help. We will take jerky, though, for more consumable healing. I will take the gentle alien and the potato. Ice cube. We have no way to deal elemental damage right now. We could buy this and speculate on finding Scared Sausage or a Frozen Heart, either of which would be pretty good with the Ice Cube, but I don't think it's worth spending 140 on something that does nothing. Lucky Charm, again, an item that doesn't help us out, that you can't really buy effectively on Generalist, because you sort of lose double value with the penalties. That being said, we do get 3% damage with it as well, because we have a Pearl, but I think it's still just too big a penalty to pick up. I will take the baby gecko. Even this late material pickup is still somewhat valuable. So yeah, I think that's worth buying. And I'll take the sunglasses as well. Just boost our damage output before we go into the elite fight. Even though submachine gun only gets 1.5x critical damage, it attacks so frequently, and we've managed to boost the damage per attack really high. So critical hit chance is still pretty valuable for us, just because it gives us a consistent way to do more damage per shot, and we take a lot of shots. And we've got the tentacle, so we get extra value out of having critical hits. And of course, our sickles benefit from the crit chance more because they get 2x crit damage. But of course, the sickles are not a big component of our damage output. Against the elites, they probably will be, though, because they're just good for single target damage. I'm trying to kill as many of these curse aliens as I can. Yeah, we'll take a corrupted shard. Here, I'm going to reroll. I could take 9 crit chance, but I think I'd rather roll for ranged damage or something else that helps us a little more. I'll just take 4 armor. Getting up to 20 armor means that we are very unlikely to die to this elite. So I'd have preferred damage, but 4 armor is just really good there. Take the 6% damage. Glass cannon, that does cost me 3 armor, but the amount of damage that we get out of this is a ton, so I'm pretty happy to buy that. I will lock this. I'll lock gambling token as well. We can get our dodge cap, get towards dodge cap pretty effectively before the end of the run with this character, I think. Gonna run into melee so that we can actually attack with our sickles, and then when the enemy gets to low health, we get the bonus damage, so we kill it very fast. Something that I can try to do is kill the blobfish with my SMGs, preferentially. Earlier, you want to kill them with your melee weapons, preferentially, if you have a mix, because generating fewer lampreys is safer in the early game. But now our damage is high enough that just having more enemies spawn is good for us, because it just means more money. SG's couch, we are, of course, going to pass, because that item's terrible. White flag, similarly. This is something that comes up occasionally, too, is people suggest that I buy white flag before going into a boss fight. Generally, I think you should avoid doing that, because right now we're a lifesteal build. Having more enemies on the field just means we're going to heal more. Even if you're not a lifesteal build, having more enemies on the field can help you out a lot, because it's more chances to generate consumables. It's so it gives you a lot more value in terms of healing than it puts you in danger. If your build is good enough, then you should be able to kill as many enemies as spawn. So while it might slow down your elite kill a little, just having more enemies on the field can increase your safety as well. It's not always the case, but I think that you are probably overbuying white flag and candle going into boss waves in terms of how much value they actually give you through making you safer. Here you can see we're running into the classic generalist problem, where we have 3 weapons of different levels, and then find a 4th weapon of yet another different level and can't buy it. I'll take the gambling token. I'll just buy 1.5 range damage with the black belt. Plus, it's kind of fun that we've got so much XP gain. So even though it doesn't do much at this point, the XP gain is really good. The XP gain is just fun, thematically. Take the blindfold. Now we're at 35 dodge. I'll take an insanity, and I'm going to roll again. Nothing else here that I really care about. Let's just go to wave 18. So, like for us, for example, for this build, even if we ignore the lifesteal from enemies, each enemy on the field has roughly a 10% chance of dropping a consumable, and each consumable is worth 7 healing for us, because we have Jerky and a Lemonade. So that's roughly 0.7 health per enemy that exists on the field. Then we also have a Tentacle, so every enemy we kill has a chance of giving us a bonus HP as well. So even if you discount the lifesteal, we get a lot of healing just by enemies existing. And that's going to be the case for a lot of characters if you've built them reasonably well. So it can be valuable, not always, but it can be valuable just to have more enemies on the field, even in terms of winning the fight, not just in terms of economy. 3% dodge for 50 is pretty expensive, but I think still worth buying at this point. Our dodge is getting very high, so one way that we could win the game more easily or give ourselves more safety is just increasing our dodge even a little bit. Take the submachine gun again and roll. Take another submachine gun. Here's the scared sausage, so if we'd bought the ice cube, we could buy this to boost damage. Barricade, we're basically spending 220 for 6 curse, because, of course, the barricade itself doesn't do anything. Knockback is somewhat valuable. We could maybe find coil and get a benefit from having the knockback, but this late, I think, spending this much on curse just doesn't do that much. Curse is an economy item, or an economy stat, and we don't really care that much about our economy going into Wave 19. Take the mutation, though. Starfish, similarly, we don't really want, even though it's cursed, so we're going to pass on it. I could buy the goldfish. That might be fun. I don't actually know how goldfish works if we buy it and then go to the next shop. Does it trigger after the wave ends or after my first reroll after the wave ends? So I'm going to buy the goldfish out of science. So we have a reroll with the goldfish. So I don't know if the goldfish will activate when we go into the next shop or when we reroll. The goldfish there is not the optimal pick. I just want to figure out how the mechanic works because I realized it was something that I don't know, and I like to know things. I think in general, goldfish is kind of a trap item because you spend 100 and then might not buy anything anyways. And level 4 items aren't even particularly that much better than lower level items. In fact, for a lot of builds, you'd rather just buy more cheaper items than any expensive item. Like most builds will have 1 or 2 items in the legendary rarity that will just sort of win you the run outright. So there's a decent chance of rolling into something really good, but you will also typically just be looking for a bunch of cheaper items. So you actually won't get that much value out of the goldfish rarity increase. And then if you don't find an item you want at all, you've just spent a bunch of money on something that does absolutely nothing. So goldfish, another item that I think you should typically avoid. By just the % damage there, and then here I'll take 12 dodge, getting our dodge up to maximum. Okay, so the goldfish doesn't trigger until I actually push the reroll button. Good to know. Let's do that and see if we get something good. And so here, like, we got the metal, but the goldfish didn't really trigger a level 2 item. And metal is fine. The rest of these items are not very good, so we just spent 100 on something that didn't really give us anything. Bloody Hand. So this is a funny case where I'm actually going to buy the Bloody Hand even though we have Triangle of Power. The reason for this is that we are going into Wave 20, and the Triangle of Power will take 10 ticks of damage before it drops my damage. And I believe that we can kill the elites faster than 10 seconds. So I think that the Bloody Hand is actually going to speed up our kills on the elite, even though we have Triangle of Power. So we're going to buy that. Partly this is just for fun because I like buying Triangle of Power and Bloody Hand at the same time and having it be even remotely good. But I think that that's just a fun mechanic to explore. So we get a bunch of bonus damage there from our lifesteal. We got plus 40 damage. So after 10 seconds, that will drop to 0. But we don't actually start losing damage until we don't do less damage on net until after 20 seconds, because that's the point where the Triangle of Power gives us minus the same amount of damage that we had as a bonus to start with. And so only if it takes more than 20 seconds have we actually lost to win this wave, have we actually lost damage by buying Bloody Hand. Otherwise, we've just increased our damage, and killing the elite faster at the beginning is going to be better. It's, again, sort of like a reverse wisdom, where we gain bonuses in the start of the wave, which is when it really matters. Now, our kill speed isn't as fast as I thought it would be. But you can see that the Bloody Hand is not going to cost us against the elite here. And we have defeated them very, very quickly. Obviously, this ended up being fine, not amazing. It was like sort of damage neutral in the end, but it was really fun to be able to do that and have Bloody Hand and Triangle of Power be close to correct. And if we'd had a little bit more base damage, it would have been actually right to speed up our elite kills. All right, that was a really fun run. The SMG, the Sickle played a very supporting role, and the SMGs, of course, did the heavy lifting in terms of damage. But Generalist, despite being a very simple character, has some interesting nuances with what weapons you get, and we got to get a little goofy with some of our items because it's a pretty strong character. So that's another win in the books. I believe that's win number 42 in this challenge, this win streaking challenge. So we only have 20 more characters to try to win with before we have won with all of them. Now, again, I've said this a couple times. We have some of the hardest ones coming up. We still haven't done Fisherman. We still haven't done King. We still haven't done Captain, I think. And those are some of the ones I'm most worried about. And then there's a couple others like Glutton that I think are secretly going to be very difficult. But the win streak does continue, so hopefully we can make that happen, make that continue even further. All right, my friends, hope you've enjoyed this run, and of course, if you have, feel free to leave a comment and hit that like button. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm, which we all have to band together to defeat. And of course, if you have enjoyed the video, you can subscribe to my channel for more Brotato and other strategy game analysis. Cheers, folks. I'll catch you next time.